Party's not a party's a man who fights crime, and we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time with John and Niall, and I guess you just rhyme with Bat Minutes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bat Minute and Robin. Endurance, stamina, an analysis of Batman and Robin, 1 minute at a time. That's what you can expect from this show. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
And I'm your other host, John Parker. And Niall, you stole my bit. I was going to say something almost exactly the same. Oh. God damn you. I was going to talk about endurance and stamina, and you've ruined it.
This is weird, though, because there are so many lines to quote in this 1 minute as well. I've got lots of wild oats to sow.
I know. I could have done anything like that. And what are the odds we came up with the same thing, completely separately? I hate you.
But throughout the season thus far, people might have heard us refer several times to the novelization of Batman and Robin. And today's guest is someone who might be very well familiar with that particular book because he wrote it. We have here esteemed author of many, many books. A lot of Star Trek titles, a lot of Star Wars titles, comic book writer, wrote for television, all sorts. We have the writer of the Batman novel, Batman and Robin novelization.
Get it right.
Michael Jan Friedman.
Hey, boys. How you doing?
Hey. Thank you for joining us. This is very exciting because, especially Niall, you have got me into the novelizations of these. So you must be loving this.
No, it's incredibly handy to have, though. Like every time I watch them, straight to the novelization to see what's different.
Well, mine was different.
Arguably far better.
Let's not even argue. Let's just straight out say far better. You know, it's one of the things that I can say without appearing immodest.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone would really disagree. Like, it's a lot more like. Well, again, Niall, you've been promoting it loads of you. It's a lot more fleshed out.
Well, you know, when you get a movie script, if you were to just tell the story in prose, you wind up with about 120 pages, which is, you know, what the script would be. So you really have to flesh it out if you're going to do your job. You really have to double what's there to come up with a reasonable page count.
That's actually like one because I've always kind of been curious about the process of novelization. Like, so how did you go about getting this job? Like, did they come to you, or do you have to like pitch to them that you want to do an adaptation of a particular property, or what's the situation?
In this case, I had an agent, and the agent was trolling, the publishing companies, and trolling in the sense of phishing, and I had a profile, you know, because I had done a lot of Star Trek books and so on, and I wrote for comics. So, you know, it's fairly well known, and my agent got me the gig. So, yeah, it was, and the process, I'm sure everybody does it differently, but what I do is, the first thing I do is I take the script and I tell it like a story. You know, I incorporate the dialogue, I incorporate the stage directions, and then I see what I have. And you know, as I said, it usually comes out to about 120 pages or so. And then I start thinking about, you know, what can I add without making it just seem like filler? What can I do to embellish it? On occasion, I have, you know, when I've done other adaptations, I've had access to the writer or the producer. And that's always good, because then you can say, so, you know, what did you want to put in that you didn't get a chance to put in? Mike, Come on, how about this? How about that? Sometimes they even have scenes that were left on the cutting room floor that you can incorporate.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and it was the original intent, so that's always good. But in this case, I did not have that access. But I knew Batman, and I knew some of the things I wanted to put in. One of the things was more background on Freeze, right? Because we didn't really know enough about him in the movie, and I thought, he was a good guy originally, and what do we need to know about him before the movie starts? Yeah,
we only get glimpses of that really in the finished film, don't we? Like little flashbacks every now and then.
Yeah, and he's very inhuman. I mean, out of all Batman's villains, he's certainly one of the least human looking.
Yeah,
it's sort of a science fiction villain, right? And and I wanted to show his human side. So that was
a great move.
Yeah. And the other part was I wanted to show Bruce. I wanted to reenact the scene where Bruce's parents are killed. Because first of all, who doesn't want to tell that story?
I think that's everyone's dream.
Right. So if I was going to write a book about Batman, I had to put that scene in. And so that kind of humanizes Bruce as well. And the more you know about them, and how important family is to them, the more the whole movie makes sense.
Because this Bruce, he's very strange in the finished movie. He is all about family, but at the same time, he seems to not really care anymore about his parents. He's like, yeah, that was ages ago. It's fine. Yeah, I'm over that.
What it scared me. The first time I saw a quote about the movie was from Clooney in I think it was Newsweek. It was one of the news magazines. And it was scary. I doubt it came from him. I'm sure it came from Schumacher originally. And he was just kind of repeating it. But the quote was like, Bruce Wayne, he's got all the money. He's got all the girls. He has great cars. What's the problem?
The whole point is that despite all that, there is a problem.
Right. So I mean, it was, determined, it was as if he was determined to ignore the thing that made Batman Batman. But again, I don't think it came from Clooney alone. I think he was kind of repeating company line.
It's so odd though in the material that's in this film as well, because it's like projecting a Bruce that's over his parents' death and then saddling the Alfred dying storyline on top of that. So it's kind of like, well, wouldn't that feed into his anxieties about his parents' death and stuff? Why take one away and then bring in this other plot element? It doesn't make much sense to me.
It doesn't, which is why, again, why I put that scene in, so we could get a sense of why Alfred was so important to him, and what why he became Batman in the first place.
Yeah.
What was your reaction though to like the previous movies? Like, were you like a fan of like the Burton stuff and even like the first Schumacher movie?
Yes, I would say generally I was. The Michael Keaton movies, I didn't expect to like. I really didn't. But I found myself liking them. There was a lot there, and they were a little, they had their campy moments. But by the time they got to the second movie, I think they really had a legitimate take on Batman. And again, Keaton was much better than I ever imagined he would be in the role. The Penguin and Catwoman was great. DC Comics had a life-size Catwoman in the Catwoman costume in their conference room.
That's amazing.
That was great. It felt like you were there with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, that's so cool. That's my favorite movie. The listeners will be sick of me saying this, but god damn, I love that movie.
Yeah, that was great. And then even the third movie was pretty good. I think the villains did a good job. Val Kilmer was good. He was pretty good. And then came Batman and Robin.
So what's your reaction though when you get like, so you're like, oh yeah, you got this gig, and then they send the script to you? Did you was like a heart sinking kind of feeling, or was it just more like I got my work cut out for me here?
It was more like I got my work cut out for me, and I took some liberties. I mean the scene that we're talking about today, the flower ball scene. I took liberties. I had Batman and Robin in disguise, in janitor clothes, basically. And they're in the background because Denny O'Neil, who was a writer, editor for the Batman comics. Denny had established that Batman was like an urban legend as far as most people were concerned. He was a creature of the night. Nobody really 100% knew if he existed. And I liked that. And then, you get the flower ball where Batman and Robin are standing there, like Adam West and Burt Ward. And it just rankled. So I said, you know what, I'm going to try to make this fit in as best I can to the Denny O'Neil approach. So I had them dressed up as janitors, and then when they have to go into action, they go into action. They're there. Yeah. But
it makes more sense as well though, because I think we hit the bump of this setup of like we're going to try to lure Mr. Freeze out with this diamond, and then Batman and Robin are going to be standing on stage already next to it. Why would he be like? Surely you wouldn't want Mr. Freeze to know that you're going to be there.
Yeah, this whole plan makes no sense to me because, like, they're making an obvious trap and then standing right there. It's like, come on, he's not going to fall for that.
It's basically saying, like, bring every gun, all the fight you have, because for sure we're going to be there. So it makes zero sense. So to have them as janitors was like, oh yeah, that actually makes sense as a plan.
It's insane. And as I've brought up previously, I think it was last week actually, like, it's very irresponsible of Batman and Robin. They're putting all these people in danger.
Yes.
Right. I know, right? So I figured that would be the best, the best fix I could make without actually, obliterating the scene and flushing it. I had to live with the scene, so I did that, and I took liberties elsewhere as well, and to my surprise, they didn't take any of them out. Actually, wherever I tried to do something rational to improve the script, Warner left it in. I was surprised. The one thing they took out, I figured it would be cool to refer to Batman as the Batman, because he was really the Batman, and it made him kind of mysterious and supported that urban legend motif, I think. So I called him the Batman. So what do you think they took out?
Oh,
are
you joking?
The definite article. V. They kept taking out V. I think the book was like 2 pages shorter after they took that.
They just went through and removed every single case of it. No. See, we're big supporters of the Batman.
It's always the Batman, the Joker. So it's like, oh yeah, it makes them sound more definitive and just more of a presence as well. It seems like the world's definitely gotten on board with it now, because you literally have the next Batman movie coming is called The Batman.
Right. I want all the does back.
All back. Residuals.
You're calling up Warner Brothers like, I want those 2 pages. They just send you 2 pages just with the written over and over.
Yeah. I want those. I've been vindicated.
Have we actually introduced the minute yet? Have we started?
So specifically the minute we're going to talk about today. That's minute 45 of Batman and Robin, and it begins with the ending of an introduction, and it ends with the opening of the bidding.
Ooh.
So yeah,
it's a bidding war.
So what is your opinion of the movie now, Mike? Because a lot of people, as time has passed, have sort of warmed to it. Because once it was coming hot off the heels of like, the first three,
Mm-hmm.
and then to have this go like this is your new Batman now, it rankled people. But I think now, but particularly things like a minute like this where Uma Thurman's just like chewing the scenery and having a grand old time.
Right.
I find it difficult not to warm to it, frankly, myself.
Well, a lot of people have softened in their opinion of the movie and found things to admire in it. I'm not one of them.
No.
I really look at it. In fact, I was never actually a big fan of the Adam West Batman.
You won't like it then. No.
I liked the Adam West Batman because it was the only Batman there was,
Yeah.
So I watched it religiously, but it always bothered me a little that it poked fun at Batman. I was like, don't poke fun at Batman. He's Batman or the Batman. So I enjoyed it. It was enjoyable, the Adam West stuff, but it always bothered me a little, particularly when DC Comics started edging in that direction as well to kind of take advantage of that. So as you can imagine, I am not a big fan of this movie. I enjoyed novelizing it, but yeah, not a big fan of the movie. And of all things in the movie, this scene probably the least of all.
I kind of get why, but at the same time, I don't know. I just love everything about Ivy. So I love that we've got her introduction and things like that out of the way. I don't know. I'm so torn. I'm so torn on it. It's stupid, but
yeah, in watching the scene again, the dialogue. I mean, you said she was chewing the scenery. She certainly was. But really, what choice did she have? The dialogue they gave her was horrific.
It is very how do I put it politely? Let's say cheesy. It's very cheesy. It's very corny.
Yeah.
Although, because I know quite a few of her lines in the novelization have been taken out. Like there's no wild oats to sow and stuff isn't in there. Although there is the weird line of after she strips off the gorilla suit, Robin says, "Gorilla my dreams."
Yeah.
Which I don't know, was that in the original script or was that your edition?
I was working off the original script, and it wasn't the last script that they. It never is. Well, when you do a novelization, you don't have time to wait for the last script. You may get it, and you may have some time to look at it and fiddle with it a little bit if you want. But for the most part, you're working off of an early draft. So
that'll be the draft that we keep getting notes from.
Yeah. Were you aware, like in advance of, like, would they tell you, like, okay, Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be playing this part, so that's the character, right to what you know that Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of sounds like and stuff? Or were you under the impression, like, oh, this could be like Patrick Stewart could be playing Mr. Freeze for?
Did I know that it was Schwarzenegger? I believe I knew it was Schwarzenegger. And Uma Thurman. I believe I knew who was going to be playing those parts. But you know what? I really wasn't so much, because don't forget, I had no access. They were shooting it as I was writing. So I didn't know what he would look like really or sound like, although I knew he was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, he never really changes his voice, does he?
I knew it wasn't going to be Shakespeare or Patrick Stewart, as you said. But I kind of wrote it as a generic Austrian professor kind of thing. I didn't really write it to be Schwarzenegger. I wrote it to be Freeze.
Yeah, that's the best way to do
Freeze. It. And I knew that he would be mangling words to some extent, which was the intent. I mean, let's face it. If they wanted, somebody who had a real command of the language, they would have hired that person.
Yeah.
But
you know what you're getting when you ask for Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that's great.
Yeah.
But it's a very specific thing.
But I really wasn't. I wasn't thinking of him so much as just who Freeze would be.
I like that. That's a really good way of approaching it.
Yeah, I think the scene you added in the beginning too, it helped us in the Bat-Minute headcanon, because as we've been going along throughout the movies, you end up making up your own backstory when you're looking at things in such close, proximity. And I don't know if you're aware, but in Batman Returns, you see Max Schreck's office, and on the wall is like a wall of people he's met, and one of them is Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so we ended up sort of retconning that in our own minds of like, well, it says in the book he's supposed to be like an Olympian, triathlete kind of guy. So maybe that isn't Arnold Schwarzenegger Max Schreck has met. It's Mr. Freeze or Victor Freeze at that point. Yep. And he knew him as like, oh yeah, this world famous Olympian guy. Yeah. But
I think my favorite scene is where, if I recall correctly, Bruce is off across the world, gathering the skills he's going to need to be Batman, and he comes across Freeze, and Freeze, I think he's talking about the long jump.
Yeah, that's right.
He's talking about the long jump, and he says to Bruce, Bruce, I think he says something like, how do you stay in the air so long? And he goes, you just don't come down. You just stay there. You just don't land. Like, okay.
I like that.
I thought that was a smarter thing than what I usually say.
That's great,
right? I mean, I don't even know how that would translate into a decision as an athlete, but you just don't come down. Okay. So I was kind of proud of that, even though, I have to admit, I really don't know what it means.
In the best way. You don't need to. You can imagine all kinds of things.
But speaking of dialogue, though, we've come in here in the minute. Poison Ivy has now officially introduced herself.
Oh, yeah. And I love what happens, right? Because she garners praise and applause simply for saying her name. Mm-hmm. Everyone's like, oh, whoa, yeah, great. That's got to be the pheromones at work, right?
Yeah. I'm just wondering how far in advance, though. So we know initially when she killed Jason Woodrue, she's like, I'm poison. But she was just literally telling him that she is, in fact, poisonous. And then you got this flower ball where all the girls who are up for the bidding are all named like, Lilac and Tiger Lily and things like that. And so I just wonder how far in advance did Pamela Isley know I'm going to call myself Poison Ivy? Like, was she just looking at this and was like, I guess I better come up with
I think that's what it is. I think she, she needed something to fit in with the flower ball theme.
Come up, I'm Ethel Nettles or something like that.
I think she had probably read the script. The decision was really taken out of her hands.
It's really meta. She actually sits reading it in the car with Bane.
I don't know. That was kind of silly. Like,
I'm just curious again to so many people's plans, and this like Batman's plan here didn't make in the finished film doesn't make an awful lot of sense, and I'm just curious as to what Poison Ivy's actual scheme is here at the moment. It's like she was, okay, I'm going to rid myself of the furred and feathered pests, and then Gotham will be mine for the greening. She's come in, she's got everyone under her control. This entire room seems to be very pro-Ivy. Mm-hmm. And she has Bane there as well. Like, I'm wondering, initially in her mind was like this was going to turn into like a Carrie situation, where she was going to just kill everybody in the room.
Maybe.
While they were entranced, and that was going to be a one and done, and then Freeze interrupted. And I was like, oh, that's my whole plan screwed up now.
I don't remember if that why she was doing. Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of motivation issues.
That's one of the main problems.
Why are we doing this?
And she slips up as well because she uses a magic, let's call it, on Batman once again. And I think it's one time too many because he has a very interesting reaction. This is some of the... I've been saying this week, this is some of the best stuff Clooney does in the movie, I think. Subtle, this scene. For this movie, subtle. Because his reaction, like, he looks entranced, but he seems to kind of be figuring out what's going on. Like, you can see his thought processes working.
Yeah, I think it must be the pheromone. It has a kind of amnesiac kind of effect as well, where 'cause she's very blatantly blowing a thing in his face.
Yeah.
You think he would instantly be like, wait a minute, that's clearly some sort of, drug she's giving me. But later on, it's only like he's saying to Dick Grayson, like, she's controlling us somehow. I just don't know what it is. And stuff.
It could be that thing.
So presumably, like, she does it, and then that kind of causes his mind to cloud. And he's a bit like,
But you can see he's like, something's not right.
Yeah. And then there's Robin standing there watching.
Yeah.
You put this stuff in Bruce's face. Huh.
Robin doesn't need it because he's that entranced anyway, just because, oh my God, it's a woman. Because Robin, as we've said, is clearly written to be about 16.
Yeah. It was probably, the actor was probably 26.
I think at this point he's even older.
Yeah. And
About 28.
And he's just standing there watching, like, we do this stuff in Bruce's face. What's my best course of action? A, stand here and wait for you to do the same to me. B, call my agent.
All it would have to do is show her blowing it like in both of their faces.
Right.
Cool, fine.
Right. That would, and in fact, I don't know. I don't know if I did that, but I hope I did. Because that would make sense. That would certainly make sense.
I actually can't remember off the top of my head if you did. I'm going to assume that you did.
Let's say we did. Let's say I did.
Let's go back and revise it if you didn't.
I'll feel so much better. I could look this up, But let's just say I did, and I will feel better about it.
One notable thing I got, though, because I think we were saying in one of the previous minutes that it seems as if the pheromone has an effect on literally everybody. So it doesn't matter what your preferences are. If you get that pheromone dust blown at you, you're into poison ivy. But weirdly enough, in the back, right enough, when she is blowing it on Batman, one of the other women is kind of rolling her eyes and looking a bit disdainfully at Ivy. So I don't know, maybe she just didn't get a dose of the stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Or... If it's jealousy now that Ivy's going for someone else,
that might be what it is. That would make more sense.
Is it just the men in the room who are affected, or are the women affected too?
Well, a lot of the women seem to be having the same reaction as the men.
Yeah. It seems. I think it seems as if like Poison Ivy just has her. If she can get anybody she needs to get. So, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter who you fancy. Poison Ivy. Once you get a taste, that's who you're after.
Well, when she looks at Batman as well, she has a proposition for him. I kind of love and hate this when she says, "Why not send Junior home early? I've got some wild oats to sow." Like, she knows how to talk to Batman. Like he's into this, but it's kind of stupid at the same time. I love it. It's good stupidity.
And then she says, "On the other hand, there's a lot to be said for youth."
Yeah.
She has the endurance, stamina. Forget the geriatric bats.
Yeah, Niall, if we downloaded the right movie here, this sounds like a very different type of film.
It was heartbreaking for me, though, because I was just like, he's 36. Because George Clooney is 30. Geriatric's like, I'm 34. So I'm like, I still got 2 good years, I guess.
And then you're a geriatric now.
Yeah, so then I'm just like, oh, yeah, get the hip replacement in.
Well, that line, though, I think it takes the sort of sensuality of Catwoman up a notch, where she says, "Forget the geriatric bat. Come, join me. My garden needs tending." So, Jesus Christ.
Needs tending, right.
That's quite explicit for Batman.
I do love as well, like, endurance. It's like it's all night long. It's not like it's not like I know Bernie Mac used to have a terrific set about, like, sex in his 40s, where he was like, 3 minutes. That's all I'm giving you. That's all the fuck I got. Like, it was like Poison Ivy's like, no. Keeps going for hours and hours.
Well, she knows how to entice Robin. It's all talk from her, but it's the talk he wants to hear.
Let's not forget, he came from a family of acrobats.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, we do forget often that he's an athlete.
Yeah. Very bendy.
Yeah,
from what we've seen.
But
Very flexible.
the draft ruins this bit, I think, because the draft extends this section, and I don't like it as much personally. I don't know, because she says, why settle for second place? Robin is a sidekick, a junior partner. If we were a team, you'd be the star. Then forget the geriatric bat. Come join me. Blah blah blah. Mm. I don't think you need all of that. Robin can be just enticed with the simple line. He doesn't need all that. Oh, you can be. It's a bit Palpatine enticing Luke Skywalker.
It is. It's a bit overwritten. It's like, well, so shockingly at times they can go slightly subtler in this movie.
Yeah.
So you just need a little more concise there. Where, we have noted as we've gone through, it's like, yeah, they cut jokes out. Which is like, this seemed like a movie. It was just like every line was required to be a joke for some reason.
Yeah, but they cut some.
You don't really need the dialogue at all, do you? I mean, if her intent is to just seduce them, does she have to? Does she actually have to talk about it?
Certainly not to Robin.
Not to Robin, that's for sure.
As we've seen, Robin is excited about any woman he sees. Clearly,
and the geriatric bat. He doesn't. He doesn't have time for that dialogue.
That's an excellent point.
I think I was saying to the because we got a good close up of Uma's face here, and I was saying to John prior to recording, like I in theory, I noted in the novelization you actually have Ivy wearing a mask here, Mike, which again also makes sense because she's interacting with people as Pamela Isley at the same time, like throughout the movie.
Yeah,
so
right.
It makes sense that she was in a mask. This stuff over her eyebrows, like I like it as an embellishment, but up close it really just looks like some iceberg lettuce they've just kind of torn off and glued to her head.
It does. I love it, and it does look like that.
Yeah, it's like it reminds me of like that vegetable gremlin from Gremlins 2. It's like something about it's like it just doesn't look right though. I get the idea, but I just don't know if maybe it was again Schumacher just had more of a comedy in mind. So it's like, oh yeah, if it looks like iceberg lettuce, all the better.
Yeah, I mean it's very, as I keep bringing up, it's very drag though. So drag's always tongue in cheek and silly and comedic. So I like it. I think it works in that sense.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine a scene in any movie that wouldn't be improved by a little iceberg lettuce.
That little crunch
underrated.
on top of there.
Yeah. As a child, I would have disagreed with you, but now I'm much older. Yes, give me the lettuce, please.
This is one of the bizarre things of one of our most frequent guests, Dale Kingsmill. She apparently eats iceberg lettuce like potato chips. Like,
is that an Australian thing?
I don't know. I think it's just a her thing. But she says like, yeah, she just sits with like a little head of it. And we'll just sit and tear bits off and eat it throughout as she's snacking and stuff.
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, that is the snack. Is just a head of lettuce. Like
at least deep fry it. Come on.
Put sugar on it. Something. Do something to make it unhealthy for you. Come on.
Oh goddamn. Yeah. Wear it on your face.
Wear it on your face. Yeah.
Hell yeah. And speaking of wearing things, actually, she having seduced everyone, takes the jewelry that's on offer here right from Gordon.
Oh god,
he even offers her the matching earrings. That's how smitten he is.
Would you like the matching earrings?
He has the way he says it. Would you like the earrings too? It almost sounds as if he's putting on a little bit of an Irish accent, as if they're trying to just turn him into Chief O'Hara.
Yeah. They are. They are quite clearly.
Right. He's in the outfit, and now there's like, this just full. This, we've already robbed the character of Gordon of all the dignity that he had, prior to this, and then poor Pat Hingle. Like eventually we're going to come up to our final Pat Hingle minutes, in a couple of weeks' time, and it's just like he goes out on such a down note of like. This character is a clown now.
Yeah, and he's one of the only ones who's stuck around since the first movie, and he's just got progressively like stupider.
Yeah.
What did he get for his loyalty? What did he get for his for his attachment to the franchise? They made him look bad. They made him look more and more clownish as time went on. It's not right, I tell you.
It feels as if he's almost like he's just there as like a stand to hold the jewelry. Like, basically. I don't know if he's there holding that jewelry because this is also part of the sting that Batman said to him, Mr. Freeze is going to come here, so I want you on stage with me to arrest him. But that's even more reason Freeze would look like through the window and be like, nope. The cops are there. Everyone knows they even had an invite. Batman and Robin will be in attendance. Why would you tell them you're going to be there?
Yeah. Would it have been a better movie if he had been wearing the earrings? What do you think?
Oh, definitely. Hell yeah.
I think it can.
Wearing the earrings, offering them, from.
I want to see that. And I think this is when Batman really figures out what's happening. I alluded before, like he seemed to suspect something. But the theft of these, when she takes the jewels, it seems to trigger something in his mind. And he's like, wait a minute. I see what's going on here. Yeah. Not fully, because he can't act yet. But he's like, this is evil afoot.
But he was, but in being there as part of a trap, you had to know already that there was a good chance that something untoward was going to take place, right? Because it's a trap involved. So
it's just a very different type of character who's turned up.
Yeah. So
then we get like an additional part of Ivy's scheme, where she takes this jewel. I don't know if this is off the cuff or she just like wanted it like well before she arrived. Like she was always going to take this jewel.
Why not?
But then now she places herself up for bidding. If she was planning to kill everybody there, I don't know if this is just a little ego boost to be like, I want all these people to be adoring me before I kill them, or if she's like, I need a little bit of seed money. But before I can launch my actual scheme. So if I get one of these bozos to pay a couple of million to go out with me for one night,
she only gets 50 grand.
Well, this minute.
I'm talking about the minute.
Things rampantly amp up. But I don't know if she just wanted the little boost of like knowing that you could get that money, or if she was actually planning to like, I'll go out on a date with. Maybe she was planning to like, Batman will take me out on like a little seaside soiree, and then I'll poison him.
Maybe. I tell you what though, her lines, right? I don't care if this movie gets insulted, but this particular set of lines from her is perfection to me. Where she says, some lucky boy is about to hit the honeypot. I'll include an evening of my company for the winner. I'll bring everything you see here, plus everything you don't. It's like, that's so ridiculously camp, and it's like burlesque, it's drag, it's enticing. I love it. That's great. You can insult the rest of the movie all you want.
In that scene, I think she's also trying to see how powerful she is. What can I do? Can I wind this whole room around my finger? Can I?
That's a good point. This is one of the first sort of outings of her powers.
Yeah, I do. It is an element I enjoy throughout the movie that you do see her powers grow,
grow like a plant.
Yeah, she doesn't start off being able to control the vines, but you do see a moment of her sort of allowing a flower to bloom next to her. And it's like, oh yeah, she's actually getting to control these plants now, rather than literally just be like really into them. But we mentioned a few times, but it is this minute more than most does exemplify the influence that Mae West had over Uma Thurman's portrayal.
These lines are totally Mae West.
Yeah. Right. And so listeners don't know, Mae West was very controversial actress, back from the 1920s onwards. She actually quite powerful for a day too, because she wrote a lot of her own material. It was she was a starlet, but she was also very famously quite witty, and would write lots of her own stories and dialogue and stuff. And she was so controversial for lewdness and things like that, things that are completely G-rated kind of stuff nowadays.
Right.
But literally now. Yeah, 100%. Like literally got her locked in prison at one point. She did a play in the 1920s just called Sex. And she got like 10 days in jail for like, corrupting the morals of the youth and stuff like that. And she just then would come out and say like, oh yeah, I got to wear silk underwear the whole time, and I had dinner with the warden and his wife every night. That was great. And she was always despite all the controversies around her, she would always come out with things like, oh yeah, I love censorship. I've made a fortune off it, and things like this. And
she probably did, weirdly, because people would be more excited.
Yeah, you always wonder how much though. Again, because she knows what she's doing. Like that famous sort of line, is that a gun in your pocket, or are you just pleased to see me? That's always attributed to Mae West, and she like egged that on. But apparently there's no actual evidence that she ever did say it way back when. Like, she just sort of stoked the flames of, like, people said they looked into a quote. It's like, oh, it dates way back hundreds of years, variations of a phrase like that. But she got to the point of, like, I guess she just knew people think I said that.
Just roll with it. Yeah.
So, yeah, she was always in interviews going, like, oh, no, I said it back in the 20s. Like, that was a thing I definitely wrote in one of my movies. And people who looked at those movies go, like, it's not in here anywhere. But then she was quoting herself saying it in, like, the 70s in other movies and stuff. So, yeah,
that's genius.
Yeah,
and there's that line that Poison Ivy has: "Is that a batarang in your utility belt? Or are you glad to see?" It's derived straight from Mae West.
100%. Yeah, like she is just doing a Mae West impression, and I mean that as a positive.
Oh, I'm really, because another one of the things that Mae West was very famous for saying was "come up and see me sometime," and the fact that Poison Ivy doesn't say that in this movie is shocking, because it's exactly the type of thing she would say.
Yeah,
and she has so many opportunities to say it as well. But
maybe they thought that's a bit too much for this movie, a movie of restraint.
I just remember there was I think it was a Tom and Jerry cartoon where I think it was Tom invents like an automaton kind of thing that he winds up as some sort of bait. And it's supposed to be like a sexy mouse or something, or maybe it was Jerry makes like a sexy cat. But I just remember it constantly repeats, "Come up and see me sometime. Come up and see me sometime." And for years I didn't know, like, why is it saying that?
You wouldn't know the reference, no.
Yeah, it was only now, like so many years later, like, oh, it's a direct reference to Mae West, because she was supposed to be very bawdy and very hypersexual. Although, of course, in classic old Hollywood fashion, she wasn't actually all that. It was all talk. But you never saw anything. It was always the suggestion.
But for the times, yeah. But that's me watching most episodes of The Simpsons as a child. I didn't understand the reference, and now I watch it, and I'm like, oh, that's what they're doing.
But yeah. So then we do have the everything you don't, and that's the little head tilt as she does it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we get then the first bid lands in from the crowd, $50,000 for Poison Ivy,
and that was $50,000 back then.
Yeah,
now
true. Yeah,
like $250,000.
Yeah,
and that's the start of the bidding.
Mm-hmm.
That's how desirable she is, quite clearly, with her magic.
Yeah. I also love it too. Like, I absolutely love the costumes in this crowd. There's a guy there in the far left. He's got this kind of orange and red suit going on, purple shirt and a tie. It's like it's just a beautiful suit. Like, it's a suit I want to wear just like in my day-to-day life.
Yep, I've just clicked through and found it, and I'm like, that's very Niall.
Yeah, it's impeccable. And I think he's the only guy, kind of, because a couple of guys there in different color suits, but a lot of them are doing just classic tucks.
Well, that's because men are boring.
Yeah, this guy, he's kicking it up a little nice there. Has anyone that got any more notes for minute 45 in particular, or?
The only other thing I've got is another bit from the draft, which I don't like. It's when she says, why not send Junior home early? I've got wild oats to sow. In the draft, instead, it says, why not send Junior to bed early? I could come and take your measurements. I don't like that.
Your measurements?
Yeah. Like, what?
Is she a tailor? How does that?
Yeah, this is wild oats to sow, doing your measurements.
Yeah, that makes even less sense. I guess it's meant to be like how a tailor essentially, touches your legs and whatnot. Like, oh, I'm going to come and feel you up. But That doesn't work. It doesn't work. Thank God they changed it.
Your measurements. Jeez. It
Oh.
goes. It doesn't stay within the metaphor.
No, it makes absolutely no sense.
I do have to ask though, while you're here, Mike. So a couple of more of your sort of embellishments and stuff coming up in the book, like notable things, like even like an Arkham Asylum, you have little cameos from like other supervillains and stuff.
Yeah.
Was there any scenes that you were like very happy that you got to add in, or were there any scenes when you did see the script and you didn't like it, but were there particular moments where you were like, I can't wait to write about this scene at least?
Well, again, the origin scene, the scene where his parents are killed, that it's a dream. It's every superhero writer's dream to write that scene. In different versions of this, there's a it's Joey Chill or it's the Joker. There are different versions of it, and I didn't say that it was Joey Chill, but I did get in the what was it? I said Bruce felt a terrible chill. In italics. So I was able to get that in. That was nice.
That's genius. I love that.
And again, the scene, between Bruce and Freeze, where Bruce is talking, Bruce is saying, but you land eventually. And he goes, no, I just hang there. I just hang.
Yeah.
That was very satisfying. When without that scene, you don't understand the relationship between Bruce and Freeze, and you really need that. You need that at the beginning. You need to understand that before that conflict has any real meaning. So I was thrilled to be able to put that in. And yeah, there was the Arkham Asylum. One of the things I'm pretty sure that the guy in Arkham, I think it was it Charlie Kochman? I think it was one of my friends. He was an editor. Charlie was an editor at DC, who is in the publishing world now best known as the guy who discovered the Wimpy Kid artist.
Oh.
So he's come a long way. But I think it was Charlie. I think in the Arkham scene. But you get it's fun to get your friends in there, and I did do that.
Yeah.
I think it was Charlie. But anyway, aside from the fact that that it was that a lot about the movie was a little silly, it's still a Batman movie. It's still a Batman adventure. These are still Batman villains, and the opportunity to portray Gotham City and Arkham and stately Wayne Manor. All of that is just an honor and a rare opportunity.
Yeah. I do know you did an issue of like a Batman story within the Batman Chronicles from like the mid-90s as well.
Yeah.
Automotive, which was like I don't know how to describe it. It's like a 2-act or like a 2-person play, but one of the persons is the Batmobile.
Yeah,
basically. Yeah.
I really like doing quirky stuff and kind of shining light in dark corners, and I was trying to think. I couldn't remember a story where the Batmobile was the hero. And this this criminal is on the run, and the Batmobile kind of is going where it needs to go at Batman's behest, and it just happens that it corrals the criminal, and the criminal is essentially captured by the Batmobile. It's just a 10-page story, but it was cool. And it was cool
Yeah.
Batman Chronicles was a cool series. So
it does that thing too of as you were sort of talking about like the strength of that Denny O'Neil Batman as like an urban legend type.
Yeah.
And I always really enjoy like the psychological aspect of what he's doing to the criminals, where we get the episodes of the animated series where like people are describing what they saw, and it's like there was sparks coming out of his hands, and it's just him throwing a batarang, but they think it's if it's something supernatural. And in that story, it does have a real thing where like the criminal's mind of being confronted with the Batmobile. It's as if this thing was like a monster to them. Like,
no, not again. Leave me alone. Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah, really beautifully. It's just that's the thing too. In many ways, with the oncoming The Batman, this part of me does have a kind of thing like, we got so much dark Batman recently. Like, wouldn't they lighten him up a little bit more for for the movies for a little bit? But at the same time, I think like I'm thinking there's going to be much more of the urban legend style Batman coming in this next film. So I'm like, actually, yeah, that is what I want as well.
I
do
want that. Yeah.
Well, DC darkens everybody now. So if they don't darken Batman, something's odd. I mean, it's odd already. I don't understand how they. I don't think it's the right choice to darken Wonder Woman and darken Aquaman and darken.
Yeah, Aquaman especially. What the hell?
Yeah, but so there. It seems to me they're certainly going to keep Batman, the only character who perhaps should be that dark. They have to keep him dark, right? I mean.
Well, you'd hope so, but considering how they've handled a lot of their movies lately, they'll probably do the complete opposite of what makes sense.
God, I hope not.
Like the whole way they were like, you know what, Justice League, we're not going to establish these characters. We're just going to throw them all together. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, in the director's cut, it's a lot better. It still has some of the problems that it had in the theatrical release. But in the director's cut, they do establish a lot more and relationships and origins.
Yeah,
and it is a lot better, but it's still too dark, and particularly Superman. Why?
Yes, she should not be
so
dark.
I mean, it misses the point about as much as Schumacher missed the point with Batman and Robin.
Well, he did apologize, didn't he? He apologized wholeheartedly. He's like, I didn't mean to upset anyone with Batman and Robin. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, sorry doesn't fix the lamp.
But in talking though about the heinous reputation of the film of Batman and Robin, we have been asking guests this season, Mike, like what they believe the worst film they've ever seen is. Do you have one that would pop into your mind? It's like, oh, this is definitely the worst.
The worst film at all that I've ever seen?
Yeah.
Oh my God! I've seen some real losers. I can't.
Yeah, people take this different ways. Some people pick the like absolute worst movie, and some people pick kind of let's say the most disappointing movie.
Yeah, that might be a better way to approach it. The most disappointing. Most disappointing movie.
Other than this.
Other than this one. It would have to be worse than this one? Wow. I don't know. Let me think. How about I'll tell you, I was and this is probably not one that you're going to hear a lot. I was disappointed with Gladiator.
Oh, okay.
that is one that has not been mentioned before.
I mean, while there was a lot about it that I liked, it was a direct ripoff of Fall of the Roman Empire. It was a direct ripoff of another movie with what was it with Stephen? This guy's name. He was in Fantastic Voyage.
Oh.
Something he was there with Raquel Welch.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I think it was him. But anyway, I was looking at this movie and going, I've seen this movie before.
Is it exactly the same? I've only seen Gladiator of the two.
Oh.
It's not exactly the same, but it's so much the same that you go, what? Is this a remake?
Oh,
Had it been a remake, had they said this is a remake, I think I would have liked it better. But it just bothered me.
As an amateur historian, I am very excited now to go and watch this.
Stephen Boyd.
Boyd.
I think is the guy you're thinking of.
Yeah. Was he in Fall of the Roman Empire?
Yeah, just quickly Googled it here. So yes, it's Stephen Boyd, Sophia Loren, Christopher Plummer.
Oh, yeah. I
think Alec Guinness, James Mason, Omar Sharif. Oh my God!
I'm watching this.
Incredible. Gee, Louise.
I know what I'm doing tonight.
And a better cast. So I don't know. It was just.
You say that, John, as this notes there, 3 hours and 59 minutes long.
Oh,
the Roman Empire. So
okay,
maybe not tonight, but
maybe
some.
not tonight.
Rome may not have been built in a day, but it did take a long time to fall.
Yes. You know what? I'm all for a 4-hour-long movie. I'm not shy of watching a 4-hour-long film. But, as of recording, it's nearly 10 p.m. and I'm at work tomorrow.
Yeah. But one of the additional question we do ask, Mike, as well, just to end things on a more positive note, is to ask then if, because Batman Robin, in modern parlance, a lot of people actually do love it. Even though it's regarded as being bad. Is there a movie out there that you consider to be great that's in the common public perception thought of as being a bad film?
Yeah, there's a movie that was I don't even know what it was. I don't know if it's still called this or if they retitled it. But I believe the original title was Twinkle Twinkle Killer Kane.
Oh.
And it was with Stacy Keach and some other actors that you'd recognize. And I love that movie. And I'm sure no one else does. In fact, I would bet my life on it that no one else liked this movie. But it was a really good movie, and it was different.
Oh yes, I think it was retitled The Ninth Configuration. It's
that sounds
William
vaguely
Peter Blatty. I think it's one he directed rather than.
Is that the guy who wrote the Exorcist?
Yeah, the guy who wrote The Exorcist. Then I think this was his. I think it was like his debut directorial thing. Yeah.
It was good. It was really good. And then they renamed it. You don't rename something that's a big success, right?
No.
But it was it was really intriguing, and I thought it hung together really well. It was a psychological thriller, and I thought it was original. So yeah, that's my dark horse favorite.
I like that. I'm excited now. I think at the end of the season we should do some kind of film festival online where we watch these movies.
Yeah, why not?
We'll come up with the logistics of that, at a later date. Especially because 90% of our listeners are in America, so it's a problem.
That's gonna get everyone lined up, and it's like, okay, our first movie, Fall of the Roman Empire. Get your cushions out now because they're going to be here a while.
And for Americans, it'll be like at 5 a.m. But yes, we will head off now into the dark, dark night. Would our illustrious, wonderful guest, Mike, like to tell people where you can be found online or promote anything you're working on or worked on lately?
Sure. Well, you can find me at michaeljanfriedman.net. You can find me at crazy8press.com along with my 7 colleagues. Actually, there's 9 colleagues now. That's the crazy part. Crazy 8 Press. And we just took on 2 more. And it's Crazy 8 Press is a sort of a cooperative, a writer cooperative, where we all put forth our most personal visions and tell the stories that traditional publishers won't let us tell. And in less than 2.5 hours, at 7:00 Eastern time, I'm going to be launching a Kickstarter for something that Batman fans I think would certainly be interested in. It's a shared world superhero universe. Prose. And I'm working with 14 of my favorite writers, and we're each doing a story for this anthology. And the idea is to continue it and do one at least every year. It's called Phenomenons, Every Human Creature is the first book. And as I said, we're kickstarting it at 7:00 Eastern time today.
Oh my God. Because this episode, you can edit this out now. It won't come out for a little bit, but we could maybe release that tiny bit of audio there to help promote.
Yeah.
We could maybe do it in advance.
The Kickstarter lasts 3 weeks. So if you come out any time in that 3 weeks, that would be helpful too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We'll definitely promote that. Hell yeah. That sounds awesome. So check all of that out, everybody, and come and check us out on Facebook at the Bat Minute Listeners Cave, on Twitter at Bat Minute, Instagram, The Bat Minute, and then we've got all our other stuff, Patreon, TeePublic. Just look us up there. Put in Bat Minute or Sleepy Charlie Media, whatever you want. Just go and check it out. It's all exciting, fun things, and we'll be back again on Monday with more Batman. I was going to say Batman and Robin. Bat Minute and Robin. And a new guest. See you on Monday.
Next time, give me some credit. Our boys start bickering amid a barrage of bids before the bat flashes plastic like he's Cher Horowitz. But as the vixen of the vines envelops the valiant dyad's minds, which Austrian avalanche will interrupt at an inopportune time, let us slide into your downloads on Monday, Batmites. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
We'll be back.